Welcome to the Happiness Happens podcast. I'm Simona Nicole, host of the show, mindset coach, and motivational speaker. I've made it my mission to help you get unstuck, shift your mindset, and understand your worth to help you live your most purposeful life. Each week, I will bring you an idea, guest, or a positive thought that will leave you inspired and empowered to win your life. We decide the stories we tell ourselves and where we invest our energy. I'm so grateful you popped in. Now let's dive in. Hello, everyone. Welcome to this week's episode on the Happiness Habits podcast. This is episode 100. Oh my God, I cannot believe it's 100 episodes. It's crazy to me that we're heading into 2021, but it's equally as crazy to me that we are doing this episode right now, because I only could have imagined 2 years ago what it would feel like to have 100 episodes, and now to actually have 100 episodes, it's like a completely different ball game. And like we're heading into like 101, 102, 103, and it's just so crazy. So I wanted to hop on here for this episode and talk about a few different things in terms of happiness in life and mindset, but specifically to how my journey has evolved over the last 2 years, with tons of takeaways in between. So I do want to preface this whole conversation with the fact that I am broadcasting this and recording this. Well, I'm not broadcasting, it's so dramatic, but whatever. I'm recording this from my new office in our new home that we just purchased. So I don't have my mic here. I don't have my setup here. I don't have anything. So if it's a little echoey, I'm so sorry, but I hope that you stay tuned to the end, because there's so much incredible content in here, so much stuff for you to take away, so many beautiful takeaways from this episode. So I hope that you enjoy to the end. Thank you so much to everyone who's here, to all the new listeners of the show, and everyone who's been here since episode number 1. I'm so grateful for your ongoing support, because episode 100 is a massive milestone, you guys. Like, I started this show with the desire to help only one person, and now this show on a monthly basis helps thousands of listeners every single month learn and grow and get the insight that they need and hear valuable conversations that are going to change their lives. So I'm so grateful that you're here. For this episode, I asked my Instagram community what they would want to hear since episode 1. And a lot of the response that I got was how my life has changed in particular since the first episode, but then also what I've learned about life since episode 1. So this is going to be the theme of this week's episode, and there's going to be so many nuggets of information weaved in between. I'm leaving you with 15 top lessons in no particular order of things that I have learned over the last 2 years that I know you're going to find super valuable as well. Before we dive into all of the content, if you could just take one hot sec to rate and review the show, I would be so grateful, because this is how we can help more people. This is how more people can find the show. This is how the show reaches people who need to hear these messages. So with your reviews and your ratings, you are actually contributing to so many other people being able to find the content that they need, especially in this crazy ass time. Okay. So I'd be so grateful if you're listening to this on Apple Podcasts, literally just like minimize the window, type in 5 stars, type in a nice review. I'd be so grateful. And into 2021, this is something I'm going to be sharing more about, are all the incredible reviews that we've gotten from listeners, and any additional questions that you have. So I have so many plans for this show into 2021. I'm coming back on more on a regular basis to share inspiring content with you, things that are actually going to help you in your life and in your business, actionable takeaways that you can use every single time you listen to the show. So there's a lot of growing that's going to happen, a lot of expansion and welcoming, and so much more learning and gratitude and kindness into 2021. So I'm hoping that you're sticking with me so far, and that, you know, you're just as psyched as I am for 2021. What I know for sure about life and what I've learned has been more concrete, like been put more concrete into action this year. But what I know about life is that it is not linear. Life changes all the time, and it tests us every single day. This whole year, as I'm sure you can attest to, has been the greatest test for all of us in living in this time period. It's been a test in terms of community, in terms of togetherness, traditions, how we celebrate, why we celebrate, why and how things are done, understanding the systems that are put in place for our society, breaking down said systems and rebuilding them up again, creating more community, more understanding, more togetherness, like I mentioned before, but in a time that feels so far apart. So I find this concept so interesting because while it's been such a hard time for so many people, it's also been a really interesting time and a really productive time for a lot of other people. So, it's oftentimes in our hardest times where we're able to come out more resilient. So, one of the things that I have, I've been diving more into in this last year has been my spiritual journey. And part of this has been learning more about crystals and using crystals in my daily life. And so, this whole year kind of reminds me of like the same journey that a crystal would take. Like there's a lot of pressure, and there's a lot of heat. There's a lot of, like a lot of pressure and a lot of tension. But what comes out of that is something that's so much more beautiful, valuable, helpful, cleansing than anything that we could have had beforehand. So what I'd like to remind you is that it's all about perspective. It's a shitty time for a lot of people, losing jobs left, right, and center. I've been there. I was one of those people this year. But you have a choice, and you have a choice in how you want to respond. You have a choice in how you want to react. And you have a choice in how you want to continue on and how you want to take what you've learned and implement it in whatever sense of the way that looks like for you. I had to cough, so I just had to pause really quick because I want it to pass, but it's not. Sorry, guys. It's raw and unedited on this podcast. I don't like to edit anything out. It just is what it is. Okay, so let's dive into all of these 15 different things that we're going to learn about in this episode. Again, in no particular order. Super excited to bring you these points because I'll be honest with you, it took me so much time to actually sit down and record this episode because I had to sit and think about what are the key things that I've learned in the last 2 years. It was a great reflection piece, and it was a great, way to analyze how the last 2 years have gone, and what I've learned that I can take now and pass forward to you. So the first thing out of all of these 15 things is that everything starts and ends with your why, okay? Last year, I launched my first online course, and the focus of that course was understanding what your why is. And I find that when you live and understand what your why is, everything else falls into place so much easier. And your why doesn't have to be this big, crazy thing. Like your why could be you literally just really enjoy, as a side note, I'm so sorry. I have to pause. As a side note, my phone just did this notification and there was nothing there. The screen just lit up and it was 1:11. So I'm just going to throw that out there because numerology is also something that I've, been getting really into, and angel numbers. And I think that piece and understanding how the universe is trying to communicate with you is so important. But we'll dive into that a little bit later. So back to the idea of why. So your why is so unique to you. There's nobody on this planet that can tell you what your why is and why your why is valid or not. Your why is so unique to you, and you get to have whatever it is you want your why to be. More often than not, it comes literally just from purpose. And it comes from that connection to yourself that you start to evolve over the years when you start paying attention to what it is that makes you happy. Start paying attention to what it is that lights up your soul. Start paying attention to the little nudges you get within you that are like, oh my God, yes, this is great. This is exciting for me. This is something that I really want to do. Those things are what lead up to creating or helping you to figure out what your why is. So for some people, your why can be your children. Some people, your why is healing yourself. Some people, your why is helping others. Some people's why can be to become famous, become an international speaker, become an author, become known. These are all whys, and these are all unique to you. So if your why is one of those things and other people don't seem to understand that, It has nothing to do with you. It has everything to do with them. So remember that everything starts and ends with your why. And why this is so important is because you are creating your actions every single day based off of the things that align most to your life. So if you're not living in intention and living in your why every day, then your actions aren't really leading you to where you want to go. So that's point number one. The second one is healing never ends. This is such an important point because when I first started this journey 2 years ago, or actually 3 years ago, really, my healing journey, I thought that, healing was just one and done. I'm going to find all of the things that are making me sad or making me upset or things that I'm upset with or whatever. But what I realized along the way is that it never ends. You know what I mean? Once you heal one thing, you close that chapter, but then something else can be a trigger and you might have to heal it again. You know what I mean? So I've had to heal. And then when I thought I was done, I had to heal again. And then I had to heal again. And then I had to heal again. So there was one particular situation that happened 2 years ago that I thought was completely done, that we were completely finished with, that I didn't need to explore anymore, that I burned the letters, I wrote, everything out, I forgave, I did all the things. And then something happened, a few months ago that triggered that thought. And all of a sudden I had to find myself trying to heal that piece again. So if you have to go back and heal something that you think you've healed years ago, that's okay, because your healing journey never ends. You're going to heal a different piece. You're healing a new part of that story. You're healing backwards, you're healing forwards when you take the time to heal for yourself. So I really stress this point that healing never ends, because people think that, one and done, I'm going to be fine. I'm going to be great. Everything is wonderful. Everything is perfect. I'm never going to have to go back and visit these feelings ever again. But truthfully, that couldn't be further from the truth. That's not reality. Reality is that we're human beings. Reality is that we're spiritual beings. Reality is that we're living a human experience. And reality is that we're going to have things that trigger us and reasons why we need to go back and heal again. So don't get down on yourself if this is happening to you. Don't get frustrated that, you have to heal this thing again. Take it as a sign. Be grateful. Find gratitude in that specific thing. What are you trying to heal? Why is it you're trying to heal it? What value is going to bring to your life when you're done healing it, when you've taken another look at it again? Okay. This is so important because I hear all the time, yeah, I've done mindset work once and I'm totally fine now. I totally understand everything. No, I'm sorry. I don't think so. I don't agree. You know what I mean? I don't agree, because I've had to personally heal the same mindset blocks many times. And every time you level up comes another block. Every time you level up comes another limitation. I've seen this in myself. I've seen this in my clients. I see it every single day. I don't believe you if you're going to sit there and say that you're one and done and everything is good, because every single point of your journey and your life, anytime you do something new, anytime that you go and you level up and you take a step up, you're going to have a limiting belief that's going to try and sneak its way in there just to make you doubt yourself just enough so that you don't actually do it. But where the mindset work is key, and where it becomes key in your life, is that mindset work becomes the difference between you taking action and then you not taking action. It becomes the difference in between you healing what it is right now, or you staying stuck in that thing for 3 weeks, 3 months, 3 years. Okay. So very important to just know that healing never ends. Okay. The third one, nothing is ever going to be perfect. Okay. Perfectionism is one of the biggest blocks to success. Your social media captions are never going to be perfect. Your photos will never be perfect. You can edit them until the break of dawn and they still won't be perfect. Okay. Your launch won't be perfect. Your communication with people won't be perfect. Your healing of the way you perceive life won't be perfect. Your relationships with people won't be perfect. Literally nothing in this life is ever going to be perfect. But you need to take action and you need to start. And then if you need to, then you recalibrate, you reassess, and then you try again. I am so for messy action. Messy action has been the biggest key to my growth, my success, my ability to take my business full time, all of it. Messy action has been the key in my whole journey, because I never sat there and thought, oh, I shouldn't put out this piece of content because it needs to be perfect, or I can't launch this program because, I'll change my mind, or, whatever. It is what it is. I've launched programs where I launched them and I'm like, this doesn't feel aligned anymore. So I stopped, and that's okay. But you need to know that nothing is ever going to be perfect. And if you wait for that perfectionism piece to fall in, if you wait for perfection to be the reason why you do something, you're never going to do it. You're never going to, get to that next level. You're never going to take that next step. You're always going to be where you are because you're waiting for the perfect moment to happen. And it's never going to happen. Like, life is throwing you curveballs left, right, and center. You need to be able to roll with them. If you want to grow, in your journey, if you want to grow in your life, you need to grow in your idea of what perfectionism looks like. But then even take it a step further and understand, why is it that you feel this specific thing needs to be perfect? Why is it do you feel that this particular moment needs to be perfect before you put it out into the world? What's the limiting belief that's behind that? What's the story you're telling yourself that's holding you back? What's the story that somebody else has created for you in your life that's holding you back? Okay? All key things and things that I do with my clients on a regular basis, but I just wanted to throw that out there for you as well. Okay, number 4 is you are capable of doing so much more than you think you can. We put limitations on everything that we do because it's out of the norm. If you're listening to this podcast, odds are you want a different life, not a different life, I shouldn't say that. Odds are you want something different in your life. Maybe you're an entrepreneur, you are wanting to start a business, you don't exactly know how. But ultimately, your mindset, your beliefs, and the way that you look at the world are the number one influencer of what you do and what you don't. If you tell yourself the story that you can't do it, you're not going to be able to do it. So if you're going to sit there and tell yourself the story that you're not capable of doing anything more than what you have right now, you're never going to get there. So you're very capable of doing everything that it is that you set your mind to, and you can actually do more than that. So think about what it is that you want to do, and then what's even more than that? What makes you stretch? What makes you feel uncomfortable but doable? That's the biggest key. I think the biggest block that I've seen is so many people put limits to what their business is supposed to look like, what their life is supposed to look like, how they raise their kids is supposed to look like. Like, who cares? You are so capable of doing everything that you want, how you want to do it. And you can do this, you can do anything more than you think you can. You know what I mean? Like, you don't need to sit there and tell yourself that you can't do it, because you are very, very capable. And a lot of the times when people tell us that we're not capable or make us feel like we're not capable, it's because there's a reason why. There's a jealousy behind there. There's a, concern or fear, right? So you have to understand that it's not always about, it's not always, when people tell you things, it's not about you. It has actually nothing to do with you, but I'll dive into this. So I digress right now because I'm going to dive into this in a different point. But essentially, you are capable of doing more than you think you can, and you deserve to give yourself the chance to see what that could look like. Okay. Number 5 is living your dream life is not for the lucky ones. Okay. I am not luckier than you. I am not better than you. I am not more successful than you. I am not more deserving than you. It's not for the lucky ones. What your dream life does take, whatever your dream life looks like to you, is hard work. It takes dedication, it takes a vision, and it takes a reason why. When you live out all 4 of those things on a daily basis in service of your dream, it's inevitable that you're going to see the success and the results that you want to see. Not one person on this planet is more special than you, and not one person is luckier than you are. More often than not, they started where you are with their own set of limiting beliefs and their own reasons why it will never work for them. If you look at some of the greatest influencers in the self-help, self-development space, all of these people grew up with the same limiting beliefs. You know what I mean? A lot of these people had the same ideas of what success looked like and what money looks like, why we should have, why we can't have, all of those different things. So, it's not that these people are luckier than you. It's that they took action in service of their dream, right? They took action to see results. It's a simple concept that can be so hard to put into practice. And taking action can look like anything, but taking action is mostly, taking one step, regardless if it's big, if it's a small step, doesn't really matter what kind of step it is, as long as you are moving and you are moving in service of your dream. So don't sit there and think that it's never going to happen for you, because it's going to happen for you. It will always happen for you. Everything that you deserve is coming for you. But you need to get out of the mindset that it's not meant for you, or that specific thing will never happen to you, because it will happen to you. You just need to believe that you are just as deserving and you are just as lucky as the people who have what you want. Okay. Number 6, not everybody will understand your dream, and that's okay. In the beginning of my entire journey, I told no one except for Steve about my plans and about my dreams. I didn't tell anybody else that I wanted to start a podcast. Like, I didn't tell anybody that I was going to start a business. I didn't tell anybody that I wanted to go full time in my business until like probably 2 years later, or a year and a half later. No, probably a year later. And I did this because I didn't want the negative reactions or opinions of other people to influence what I wanted to do. So what I noticed was that I had created this boundary and protected my space around my dream, because I needed to do that in order to be able to get to where I am. And so, a lot of time family conversations look like, oh, how's your business going, blah, 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 whatever. I'd be like, oh yeah, it's great. Like, it's going really well. You know what I mean? And just leave it at that. Not everybody needs to know the in-depths of your life and all of the specifics. Because there was a point when I had told my family that I was like, okay, I'm done working in corporate. Like, this is a year ago. I'm done working in corporate. I don't want to work in corporate anymore. And then I got met with the, oh my God, but like this. I want to quickly pause this interview and tell you about the Handel Group coaches that I've had the honor and privilege of bringing onto the Happiness Happens podcast. With every conversation and interview, I've learned something so impactful and so life-changing. Inner You Life is the online coaching course from Handel Group that gives you the tools to get yourself unstuck, wildly happy, and thriving where it matters most to you. Your relationship to yourself, career, love, body, money, time, and more. From wherever, whenever. Recommended by Hugh Jackman, Dr. Mark Hyman, Forrest Whitaker, Elena Brower, and hundreds more. Taught in MIT, Stanford School of Business, and 50 plus institutes of learning across the world. Visit inneryou.coach and use the code HappinessHappens at checkout for $75 off. Now, back to the episode. Security of your job and this and this and this, all these different things. And I was like, well, I don't really care. You know what I mean? And then lo and behold, bring us to the year 2020, where the most secure jobs that you would on paper say are the most secure jobs, we're letting people go left, right, and center. So, how can you say what is secure and what isn't? I think the biggest security that you have is the ability to serve towards your dream, because you will do everything to make sure that dream comes to life. You'll do everything to make sure your business survives. You'll do everything to make sure that you hit that $1 million. You will do everything in service of your dream. So really what I learned through this is that people are skeptical, but most of the time people aren't skeptical because they don't want you to succeed. People are skeptical because of their own fears, their own limiting beliefs, and then they project that onto you. And then what happens is we take other people's projections of what people say to us and we turn that into reality. So we take that and we turn it into something that isn't necessarily true, and it's not a true story for us. So we're taking somebody else's story and we're turning it into our own story, our own reality, when the actual truth is that it has nothing even to do with us. Like, we don't even really care. You know what I mean? We're still going to do what we want to do regardless what people say. So you don't have to justify to anybody what your dream is and why. You get to choose everything that you want to happen in your life. We all have circumstances and reasons to stay stuck. We all have reasons why it's never going to work. But the difference between those who do and the difference between those who don't do is that those who do don't let these reasons become excuses. Okay? Number 7, it's important to find a community of people who support you. I cannot stress how incredibly life-changing it was to find my community of entrepreneurs, spiritual entrepreneurs who support me. This was life-changing because this gave me somewhere to go when other people didn't believe or understand in my dream. This gave me a community, a feeling of belonging, a sense of security that I'd never felt in, friends or family. Because while our friends and family are always going to be there to love us and to support us, what I've noticed the most is that unless you're living in a situation, you don't quite understand how that situation is. So if you're not an entrepreneur yourself, you're never going to understand why somebody has the dream to leave a corporate job and do their business full time. You'll never be able to understand that, because you'll never understand what that feels like, because you've never experienced it. So while your loved ones will always be supportive in some sense, at least mine were very, and still are very supportive, they don't understand the intricacies and specifics of the things that I experience on a daily basis. But finding my community of people who support me through all of these different scenarios has been like so essential in my continuing growth and growth into 2021. Okay, number 8, we are all spiritual beings. What I've learned in the last 2 years is that spirituality is not religion. Spirituality and religion are completely separate things. We all are on some type of spiritual journey, whether we are awake to it or not. Spirituality is so complex. So I won't even try and go into the definition of spirituality today. I'll bring somebody else on to help explain that topic. But ultimately, we're all spiritual beings, and we all connect back to source energy in the most impactful way. There's energy behind your why, the energy behind everything that you do. So spirituality and energy go hand in hand as well. So I'm going to talk about energy in just a little bit, but when you put energy behind everything that you're doing, when you put intention and connection to everything that you're doing, you're evolving your spiritual journey, you're evolving your spiritual self, and then you're tapping into your spiritual being. So I will just leave this point here, but that we are all spiritual beings and we're all on a spiritual journey. So I think that's super, super important to note. Number 9 is that your journey will take so many different paths, and you need to learn to say yes to what feels right for you. Don't let yourself be clouded by the judgments and the different ideas that other people have about you in your life. There are so many different paths that you could take. There's an infinite reality of paths that could be yours. But ultimately, there's the path that you are here experiencing right here, right now. And whatever is meant for you will never pass you by. Everything that you're meant to have in your life will come to you and will come to fruition. You just need to start tuning in, tap into your intuition to say yes to what feels right to you. Think about, one of the best examples, and it's so simple to grasp. If you're walking down the street, you just take a deep breath, like, do I want to go left or do I want to go right? You're listening to your intuition to either go left or to either go right? So I think that this is so important, because you're giving yourself this opportunity to think about what your actual spiritual self is wanting. What journey do you want to take? What do you want to experience? What do you want to see? What feels right for you? Think about what is your yes, what is the biggest yes for you, and then say no to everything that isn't that, okay? You don't need to live by other people's stories of what you should be doing and why you should be doing it. You say yes to what feels right to you, and the universe will support you. I guarantee, I've experienced it. This is all from my own personal experience and what I've seen from my clients. But the moment that you say yes to you is the moment that the universe opens up infinite potential for you, okay? Number 10, energy matches energy. If you're unhappy, you're going to attract this. If you are miserable, you will attract this. If you are judgmental, you will attract this. If you are happy, you will attract this. If you're sad, you'll find more sadness. If ultimately, I can go on and on and on, but ultimately the energy that you put out is the energy that you get back. And then it's also the energy that you match up with in real life. So if you're wanting more love, more positivity, more kindness, more generosity, more gratitude, how can you look at your own self and figure out where the energy leaks within your own body, within your own spirit, and how does your energy maybe not match up to the energy of what you're trying to attract? So I think that it's just be very intentional with what your energy is. Be intentional about who you allow into your space, what type of energy you can tolerate and what you can't. And I think that this will go a long way in making sure that your energy always stays higher vibe, okay? And high vibe is not a bad thing. Low vibe is not a bad thing. High vibe is a great thing. Low vibe can also be a great thing, because all of these things need to exist and they need to coexist together, because you can't have a high vibe without low vibe, and you can't have low vibe without high vibe, right? It's like you need to experience the wave. So, just be intentional though with your energy. Protect your space. Be careful who you let in, because a lot of the people will be there to drain your energy, drain your time, drain your freedom. So just be very, very, very mindful about what energy you're letting in and why. Number 11 is too busy is not an excuse. A lesson that took me a very long time to learn. Structure in the time in your life to spend with those that you love. Make the time to move your body. Make the time to connect to spirit. There's no right time to do anything. Being constantly busy is masking a deeper issue. So for me, being constantly busy was masking the issue that I wanted to be invested fully into my desires, into my dreams, right? So with this theme of, making sure that being busy is you're not using it as an excuse, I love this concept of planning loosely. Allot the time in your schedule to dedicate to the things that you need to get done. Allot the time to move your body. Allot the time to connect to spirit. So for example, I'll just give you an example. So one of my things I had to do was create time in my schedule for my morning routine. So I scheduled 2 hours in the morning, and in that 2 hours, I wake up and I say, okay, what is it that I want to do today? How is it that I want to wake up and start my day? Sometimes it's a workout, sometimes it's a walk, sometimes it's a meditation, sometimes it's all three, sometimes it's journaling. So it's not so much the what you do. Yes, the what you do matters, but it doesn't have to be the same and the consistent, it doesn't have to be the same every single day. One of the best ways you can connect to your intuition is by giving yourself the chance to think about what your intuition is telling you and what your body and soul and mind needs right now. So if you have the time scheduled, then you can figure out the tasks within that time, okay? Number 13 is the universe is always communicating with you, and the universe wants to support you, but it's up to you to listen, and it's up to you to take the lead towards your dreams. If you don't listen, the universe will do it for you, guaranteed. So I got this nudge for months, years ago, for months, that it was time to leave a job back in 2019, years ago. Oh my God, that was a year ago. In any case, I didn't listen to this nudge, and I ignored it for pretty much a year, I would say. And then things started happening in 2019 that indicated that I should leave. Different scenarios happened, and I found myself into situations that I would have never imagined that I would have been in. But I never left, and I stayed in that situation because I was scared. I was fearful that I would never have another job. I was fearful that I would never make money. I was fearful of all of these different things. But then in 2020, I got laid off, and the universe abundantly opened up many, 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 many new doors because of that. I had written 2 years ago that by August 2020, I would be done in corporate. And it was funny because by August 2020, I wasn't, but so many things had changed. And I thought that it was just really interesting that when you put something out with a date around it, it's very likely that something similar, or if not that exact thing, will happen. So I'm not saying to go and quit your job, but what I am saying is listen to the nudges that you're getting, because they're happening for a reason. Listen to the nudges that you're getting about relationships and people and situations and all these different things, because it's happening for a reason. It's happening for a purpose. Okay. Number 14 is connecting to your oh my gosh, I can't even speak. Connecting to your intuition is your biggest asset. This has been game changer for me. Connecting to my intuition has been the biggest thing that I've done in 2020. And it has opened up so many different doors and gifts that I didn't even know that I had. It, really brought through these intuitive messages and nudges of things that I know people need to hear, helping people to, access different parts of their own spiritual selves to heal the journey that they've been on so far, and the things that need the things that needed their attention that they weren't noticing. connecting to your intuition will become, if not already be, the biggest guidance that you'll have in your life, because you're actually giving yourself this chance to connect to yourself on a deep level. So connecting to your intuition is your biggest asset. It's the best thing that you will ever do. So if you have not started your spiritual journey, but you're curious, just reach out, send me a message. I have so many people that I can put you in contact with to help you do this. And it's so powerful, and it's so important, and it's so impactful. And then my last point, number 15, and I think I put this as number 15 because I think this is one of the biggest ones here, is that you need to be the biggest supporter of your own life and your own brand, okay? Nobody is going to support you the way that you support you. Nobody is going to be a fan of your brand if you are not. If you aren't loving and thriving and supporting your own self, how could you ever expect anybody else to support you in that same way? Okay? Your biggest supporter needs to be you. You have to be your own hype person, especially if you're an entrepreneur, because nobody is going to sit there and say, good job, pat on the back, you've done a great job, because everything that you do is by your own doing. So the biggest thing that I've learned in the last 2 years is stop waiting for people to compliment you. Stop waiting for people to give you the permission to be yourself. Stop waiting for people to give you the permission to live. Live your life. Be your supporter. Be your biggest support. Be there for yourself. Love yourself. Give yourself the opportunities that you need. Create it in your life. You are the biggest supporter that you will ever have. And you need to own that role more than anything on this earth. You need to own the role that you are the most powerful person in your life. And then once you do that, you radiate and you shine from the inside out, okay? So if I think back to all of these different points, all of the things that I've been thinking of while I was getting ready to record this episode, is that life has changed in the last 2 years in so many ways. And all of the ways that they've changed are by my own creation and by me making my own decisions, not listening to other people, not letting other people impact my decisions. What I notice the most is that when I let other people impact my decisions, I oftentimes found myself like spinning in circles and trying to figure out what it was, what am I missing, like all these different things. Why is it not going to happen for me? Why is this all so confusing? Because I'm letting other people's decisions permeate my life. So be careful who you let into your space. Be careful who you work with. Be careful of all those different things, right? Because you need to be able to make your own decisions. I also went from being scared to being very empowered. 2 years ago, I was scared to launch my podcast because I was scared about what people think. Now I'm running a business that's going full time into 2021, and I don't care anymore what people think about me. I really don't care. Like, if you don't like it, too bad. If you do like it, great, because I'm going to be here to support you throughout your whole entire journey. You know, being scared is, in my opinion, and I mean this in the most loving way, I feel like being scared is such a waste of time, because time and freedom are two of the most valuable assets that we have. Do you want to be on your deathbed looking back and being like, oh my God, I wish I did all of those things and I wish I took action? Or do you want to say, you know what, I'm really fulfilled. Like, this was a good run. How do you want that end to look like? Think about the end and then work backwards. Think about the end and then empower yourself to make the decisions that you need to create the life that you want, a life that you're going to be proud of. Because if you've worked hard for yourself your whole life, and if you've loved yourself the most that you can, and if you've given yourself the most amount of grace and love and space and connection and relationships and time and freedom, then you're going to get to the end and you're going to be proud. You know what I mean? You're going to be so proud, and you're going to be just grateful that you took the chance and that you didn't let fear stop you from being excellent and being so great. These are tangible things. Launching a podcast, starting my coaching business, going full-time into my business, launching a merch line that almost sold out in 3 weeks. These are all just tangible things. But what's changed the most is my mindset towards success. And honestly, that's changed. Like, What success looks like has changed. My fear and scarcity mindset around money has changed. And I know now that every failure, every redirect, like everything that I've experienced that has not gone the way that I expected or thought that it would, has been a relaunch into a new direction and a new story and my journey and what it's supposed to be. So you need to trust yourself. And when you're in purpose, you know deeply that those who need you will find you, and every single opportunity that is meant for you will never pass you by. It may come at a later time or in a different way than you expected, but it's always available to you. And what is meant for you in this lifetime will always come to you. And then the last thing that I wanted to share is my definition of happiness has changed significantly. Happiness 2 years ago was a feeling, it was a destination, it was a specific place. Happiness today is a creation, it's a devotion, it's a purpose, it's a journey. I define happiness by a deep inner peace, a connection to source, love, God, self, whatever you want to call it. And happiness is knowing that times are hard right now, but it will get better. You're not stuck. And there's nothing wrong with you. You're growing and you're learning, and you need to give yourself the space and grace to be able to do that. For me, happiness equates to fulfillment. They're not different. For me, I use them interchangeably, because when you're fulfilled, you're at peace. And in turn, by my definition, you're happy. All of the other emotions can still exist. You can still feel sadness. You can still feel anger. You can still feel scared or whatever. But happiness doesn't discount sadness or anger or fear. Happiness is purpose. So thank you so much, everybody, for tuning into this week's episode. I hope you loved all of these different points. I hope they were helpful. I hope all 15 of these points were, inspiring for your 2021. I hope that you learned a lot from this episode, and there are tangible things that you can take now and implement them into 2021. The year is not over yet, okay? You still have time. You still have time to have it go partially, somewhat the way that you would have wanted to. You have the opportunity to create your reality every single day. You don't need to sit and listen and stay stuck in what other people are expecting you to do. You can literally take life, grab it, and live it. Just live it. I know we're constrained. I know that we can't do much. I know that there are limits to what we can do. But what nobody can take away from you is the freedom of your mind and your inner peace. So how can you create that feeling within yourself? And then how do you go out and extend that to other people? How do you go make other people better than you found them? How do you leave people better than you found them? How do you help other people get to their fullest potential? How do you create your life the way that you want to right now? So thank you all for tuning in to this week's episode on the podcast. Please let me know if this episode resonates with you. Please leave me a comment or a review, share it on social media, tag me, let me know you're listening. Let me know what you love the most. I'm so excited to hear from you. I'm always so excited to hear from you. And I'm so looking forward to 2021 and what it's going to bring for this show, this podcast, my business, your life. It's going to be amazing. I'm wishing you a beautiful day wherever you are in the world. And don't forget to say hi, because I want to hear from you. Okay. Thanks for tuning in. Remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it. Thanks so much for being here today. I hope these words have brought you inspiration, insight, and a bit more happiness. Please leave a comment or a review if this episode resonates with you. I would be so grateful. Until next time, remember that happiness happens when you're least expecting it.